सर्व प्रशिक्षणार्थींचे यशदामध्ये स्वागत. यशदा ही महाराष्ट्र शासनाची प्रशासन प्रशिक्षण प्रबोधिनी आहे. यामध्ये प्रशिक्षणाचे कार्यक्रम राबवले जातात. अधिक माहितीसाठी आपण यशदाच्या संकेतस्थळावर जाऊन माहिती घेऊ शकता. राज्य शासनाच्या 2011 मध्ये घोषित स्टेट ट्रेनिंग पॉलिसीनुसार प्रत्येक नवीन अधिकारी आणि कर्मचाऱ्याला 45 दिवसाचं फाउंडेशन ट्रेनिंग घेणं आवश्यक आहे. या अंतर्गत आपणाला पॉलिटेक्निक मधील टीचर म्हणून विशेष प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम आम्ही हाती घेतला आहे. या कार्यक्रमाअंतर्गत डिझाइन ऑफ आउटकम बेस्ड करिक्युला, पेडागॉजिकल ट्रेनिंग आणि रिसर्च मेथोडॉलॉजी या 3 प्रशिक्षण वर्गाकरिता माझ्यासोबत प्राध्यापक हेंक आइकमन, प्रोफेसर हेंक आइकमन, who is an Australian professor on education psychology and technology, is available with me. He has got a varied experience and international exposure related to various training programs for teacher development and institution building. I will request Professor Henk to introduce himself once again and brief us on the outline of our training programs. Thank you, sir.
Namaste. I'm really delighted to be here at Yashada with my good colleague, Professor Prevan Ravankar. We've known each other since 2006 and I've been coming to India regularly every year, in fact, since then. So I'm very proud to be working with him in Yashada on this really great program. So just a little bit about me. I originally started my working career as an aircraft engineer and never thought I would ever end up here. So this has been a great experience. So my work has shifted, as you can see, from being an aircraft engineer to teacher development, and I have been involved in teacher development for well over 30 years. My specialty is in teacher development especially for teachers who are working with academically weak students. So I've been working in India since March this year at a rural engineering college that I'm very proud to work for, and also very happy to and looking forward to meeting all of you on this program. As Professor Prevan has already indicated, that there are 3 components to this. We'll be looking at outcomes-based curriculum design first of all. Then we'll be looking at some really good basics for teaching, which we call Teach It Like Tendulkar. So I think that should be fun. And last but not least, research methodology that will help you document your project. And we will have a very enjoyable and very productive program. Thank you.
Sir Henk, will you please guide the participants on how they should prepare for pre-training assignment that we have designed for the outcome-based curricular design module?
Thank you, Prevan. That's a good question. The pre-workshop activities are really important because we only have 2 days for the workshop and we have quite a bit of material to cover, and so it is really important that you have a reasonably sound understanding of how outcomes-based education, or as we sometimes call it, outcomes-based curriculum, why it is different. This is important because outcomes-based education is not simply a traditional approach with outcomes thrown in. So that will be, you'll find it very, very helpful. The second, the other activity is a questionnaire that asks you to identify, what your current practices and ideas are about teaching, and that will help you to begin to see where you are now in relation to the continuum between the traditional approach to teaching on the one hand and outcomes-based teaching on the other. So it's really valuable for you to be familiar with all of this, and we will expect you to be familiar with it because we do not have the time to go over these issues separately during our two-day workshop. I hope you actually will enjoy the reading. It's very informative, it is not very long, and will be very helpful.
Participants, Professor Henk has explained to you on how to answer the pre-training assignment. These assignments have been mailed to you to your mail IDs, and they are also available on Yashada's website. So please download the assignments and send it before the given date. Professor Henk, I would like to give us more details on your famous program which you have designed, which is Teach It Like Tendulkar.
Okay. Teach It Like Tendulkar. Well, that was a surprise discovery for myself. But the idea is that to be a good teacher, you need to know the basics. It's like cricket. It's not just Sachin Tendulkar became a great cricketer, not just because he, was able to hold the bat the right way, but it's also his thinking, his attitude, and his whole feeling for the game. And so the same with teaching. I think it is absolutely critical that we build our teaching practices on a really solid foundation and on very basic foundations. So the basic foundations of being a good cricketer, no, only kidding, a good teacher, is first of all to care for your students. Empathy is really critical. And in fact, empathy is what everything else comes out of or is built on top of. So out of that, the second thing that's really important is using really effective communication techniques. Good communication. And I will explain that more during the workshop. But the basic idea is that giving students information is not just by word of mouth, but we ought to be using every mode of communication available. So visual, written, verbal, those things are really important, and we will explain that. The third item is to use really good questioning techniques. I've been in quite a number of different classrooms in different colleges and universities, and it is not surprising that many faculty and teachers complain that students don't want to answer questions. And that is because we really need to focus on how to ask questions in a way that builds confidence in students. And last but not least is that we need to continuously check on our students' learning. Most of us concentrate on covering the syllabus. We are going to shift from covering the syllabus to focusing on how well and how much are our students learning, so we can identify the gaps and help them to fill it.
Professor Henk, I would like to quote here famous scientist from India, Raghunath Mashelkar, who says that teaching without research is sterile. So we also have a third workshop by you for our participants on the research methodology. Can you throw some light upon these two parts, what we are going to cover in our workshop on the research methodology?
Teachers are researchers. You are already researchers. Think about it. Every time you do a lesson, when you finish, you ask yourself, that went really well, must remember. Or that didn't go so well, what else can I do next time? So you may not be researching formally on paper, but you are certainly in your mind researching. Researching is another word for learning. It's another word for discovering knowledge. And so you are already seekers of knowledge because you are generally, in many ways, always looking for better and other ways to teach your students, correct? So I'm not really introducing anything new to you, but what is perhaps new is that we are going to look at research as a more formal tool for developing your competence as teachers. This is designed to do two things. One, to make your teaching more enjoyable, because you will be deliberately looking for better and perhaps even easier ways of teaching and more enjoyable ways of teaching, and it will make your students' learning much more enjoyable because you will be targeting their learning needs much more clearly. So what we'll be looking at is in the workshop is teachers as researchers, as practical researchers. This is not laboratory research, huh? So I will not be issuing you with white coats. Then this will be the research, the work that you carry out in your classrooms with your students, based on your reflections. So I think you will find this very interesting. It'll build on much work you're already doing, but it will make it clearer, and it will make it much easier for you to also document progress in your teaching competence. And so this is not heavy stuff. Research sounds heavy, yes, but this is not going to be heavy. This is all very practically based. So again, I really look forward to working with you on that. Thank you.
Delighted to work with you to design these 3 course modules on Teach It Like Tendulkar especially, and then their design of outcome based curricula, and lastly the research methodology. So you have given very good introduction to these workshop. I think our participants will be aware about what is going to happen when they are in Yashoda for 2 weeks, out of which around 4.5 days they will be spending with you, and I will be working with you as a additional facilitator. So hopefully all the participants have got to know by this video about what they are going to spend their time in, the activities and the workshops, so that the learning outcomes are met, whatever has been promised. Good documents designed by Professor Henk we have sent to you. Go through these documents, read about the program outline, and come prepared for this workshop. It will be really an enjoyable workshop with Professor Henk's contribution as a trainer. Thank you.
Dhanyawad and Fir Milenge.